Welcome! Today, we're digging into enamel cookware. You know, it's a classic that's making a huge comeback in health-conscious kitchens, and we're going to find out exactly why it's considered one of the absolute best choices for non-toxic cooking.
But first, to really get why enamel is so appealing, we have to talk about the problem it solves. Why are so many of us looking for safer pans in the first place? It's a question a lot of us have probably asked ourselves, right? We hear these stories about questionable chemicals in modern nonstick coatings, and it naturally makes you wonder. And honestly, this one concern has basically fueled a massive search for safer materials to use in our kitchens every day.
And that search almost always leads us to a group of compounds called PFAS, which you've probably heard called forever chemicals. For decades, they've been the secret sauce in a lot of nonstick surfaces. And they're called forever chemicals for a really simple reason. They just don't break down, not in the environment and not in our bodies. And that's exactly why so many people are looking for a better alternative. So, what is that proven, time-tested alternative? Well, this is where enamel cookware makes its grand entrance. And you'll see it is fundamentally different from all those synthetic coatings.
See, enamel isn't some synthetic coating that's just sprayed on. Think of it more like a permanent glass skin that's literally bonded at a molecular level to a metal core, which is usually cast iron or steel. This creates this perfect, non-reactive barrier between the metal and whatever you're cooking.
So how do they create that incredible bond? By firing the cookware at an absolutely blistering 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. That extreme heat is the real key here. It completely incinerates any organic compounds, leaving behind nothing but a pure, super stable, and totally inert glass surface. And this is a really important distinction to make. This is not paint. Paint is just a coating, right? It sits on top of a surface, and it can eventually chip or peel away. Enamel is a permanent transformation. The glass is fused into the metal. It becomes one single solid piece. Now, because of this unique manufacturing process, enamel cookware has some seriously amazing advantages in the kitchen. It's why it's a favorite for everyone from home cooks to top chefs. The benefits are pretty incredible. It's completely non-reactive, which means you can simmer an acidic tomato sauce for hours and not even think about it, something you definitely can't do with bare cast iron. Then you add in its durability and how easy it is to clean, and what you've got is a true kitchen workhorse that is built to last for a long, long time. And let's be honest, beyond just its function, there's the form. Enamel cookware is just beautiful. It can go straight from a hot oven right to the center of your dinner table. That seamless move from a cooking tool to a serving dish is a huge, huge plus. Okay, but we need to give you the full picture. It's not the perfect tool for every single job, and there are some really important things to know about, especially when we talk about durability and even a little bit of its history. The key thing is always choosing the right tool for the job. So, for example, when you look at it next to traditional cast iron, enamel is the clear winner for cooking acidic foods and for just plain, easy soap and water cleaning. But if you want that perfect, screaming hot sear and you don't mind the whole seasoning ritual, well, traditional cast iron still has its place for sure. Now, a totally valid concern that comes up is about heavy metals. And it's true. In the past, some pigments did contain lead or cadmium. But this is an issue that's been addressed for decades. Since the 1970s, strict regulations from the FDA and tough standards like California's Proposition 65 make sure that modern cookware is safe. So here's how modern brands handle it to make sure everything's safe. Any of those really vibrant pigments, like the reds and oranges that used to use cadmium, are now only used on the exterior of the cookware. The interior surface, the part that actually touches your food, is always a safe, neutral color like white or cream. It's a simple rule, and it's why sticking to reputable brands is so important. Okay, so let's say you invest in a beautiful piece of enamel cookware. How do you make sure it lasts? Let's jump into the really practical steps for using and maintaining it safely. The biggest risk with modern enamel is really just chipping. It's tough, but at the end of the day, it's still glass. So the big question is, when does a little chip mean it's time to replace the whole thing? The rule here is super simple. If you see a chip or a crack on the interior cooking surface, that protective glass barrier is officially compromised. That not only exposes the metal underneath to rust, but it also creates a real risk of tiny glass flakes getting into your food. And that is the clear sign that it's time to retire it from cooking duty. And prevention is everything. The two biggest enemies of enamel are metal utensils, which can scratch and chip that glass surface, and something called thermal shock, that jarring temperature change you get from putting a scorching hot pan into cold water. If you can just avoid those two things, you are going to protect your investment for a lifetime. So at the end of the day, when you choose high-quality enamel, you're not just buying into some new trend. You're choosing a proven technology that's been around for over a century, that is still one of the absolute safest and most reliable surfaces for a non-toxic kitchen. It's a durable, sustainable, and safe choice that really checks a lot of boxes for both health and the environment. By investing in a piece that can last for decades, you cut down on waste and you avoid all those questionable chemicals in disposable nonstick pans. Which really just leaves one question for you to consider.